Good morning again. I have the privilege of bringing the word this morning, and I'm super excited because I think this is the first time that I've preached to the kids and the adults at the same time, so it's going to be really fun. I hope you come expecting great things. So this morning, you may have noticed the sermon title this morning is For the Love. And there's many connotations that go along with that, but we're just going to be talking about love this morning and what it means to be followers of Christ and to be sharing his love. Because you've already heard it this morning that you are the light of the world. And so we're going to unpack that more a little bit further. So yes, you are the light of the world. And so we're going to be looking to Jesus this morning in his word because he is the prime example of what it means to show love and to exude love and be love. He is the best example of how to live. And so we're going to be looking to him this morning. Have you ever noticed that there are many, many selfish people in our world? By a show of hands, how many of you know a selfish person? Yeah, me too. But Jesus was the total opposite of that. He was the least selfish person to ever walk this earth. One of the greatest commandments that Jesus ever gave, or the two most greatest commandments, was found in Mark chapter 12. And it's going to be on the screen. It reads like this: Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. Do kids recognize that? We sing a song like that in kids worship just about every week, it seems like. It's one of our favorite songs. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. And you're probably thinking, yeah, I do that. Or I could do that. But Jesus takes it a step further in the next verse. He says, love your neighbor as yourself. There is no greater commandment than these. Love your neighbor as yourself. So, love your neighbor. Who even knows their neighbors anymore? Do you really know your neighbor? I mean, this isn't the 50s anymore with, June and Ward Cleaver. I mean, we're not living in those kind of days anymore. But by chance, if you happen to know your neighbors, do you even like them? It seems like any more these days we hear about family or neighboring feuds more than anything other than like block parties. We don't really hear about those anymore. We hear about feuds over property lines or trees that hang over said property line, or fences on the property line. We are just feuding with our neighbors all the time. Oh, and just as a side note, I want it stated that I have the best neighbors ever. The best neighbors. Just so it's in the record. So who's your neighbor? When Abby and I were first married, I lived next to Doug and Laura, if you didn't know that. When Abby and I were first married, we had neighbors on our left and our right and across the street, but we knew our neighbors. We had Jay and Sonia on our left, and we had Shannon and Woody on our right. And we didn't know a whole lot about them, but we would say hi, and we were friendly, and we got to know each other. We lived in that house for 7 years, I think, or so. But we got to know them. We never went over to each other's houses. It wasn't like that friendly, kind of like back in the 50s, but we knew who they were, and we knew about their families, and they knew that I was studying religion, children's ministries in school, and they knew that we were Christians, and we invested ourselves in each other's lives just to get to know each other, and we would do things for each other. We would shovel the sidewalk in the winter, or we would blow the leaves away from our houses and pick up trash if we saw it. We just had a relationship. We cared for one another. So who is your neighbor? Now, I don't think that Jesus was only meaning the person that you live next to. I don't think it was just the house or the apartment or whatever that is next to the place that you live. I think he was talking about the person that you're sitting next to this morning, on your left and on your right. So real quick, just look to your left and look to your right and say, hey, neighbor. Yeah. So it's the person that you're sitting next to. It's the person that you held the door for, or that you hold the door for when going in and out of a store, or the person that you work with. It's the bank teller, the cashier at the grocery store, the person in the car in front of you. who probably just cut you off. Boys and girls, students, it's your classmates. It's the kids at your school and in your hallways. It's the people that you interact with daily. Those people are your neighbors. And Jesus, as you heard earlier, calls us and instructs us to love our neighbors. One day, Jesus was hanging out with his disciples and they were arguing. In Mark chapter 9, you can find this story. I'm not going to have you go there, but they were arguing about who was best or who was first. And Jesus turned to them and began to teach them, saying things like, in order to become great, you must become a servant. In order to become first, you must become last. You must take yourself out of that first position and put yourself in the last position. Those that want to be great must become last. You must put other people in front of you. You must think about other people before yourselves. And so to go back to that person in your mind that's just plain selfish, aren't they the worst? I mean, they're never concerned about anybody else. They're only concerned about number one. And as believers in Christ, we need to be concerned about the number one, but it's not us. He's the number one. We need to be focused on him. We need to be in tune to his heart. Because if we are in tune to his heart, we will quickly learn that he is not concerned about us being number one, but he's concerned about the other people around us, our neighbors. Jesus conveyed to his disciples that day that people who are great will be mindful of the other people around them, even if they are strangers, or even if they're people who don't look like us, or talk like us, or dress like us, or act like us. The truth is, the people around us matter. They matter because they matter to God, and therefore they should matter to us. They are on his heart. And if we're focusing on him and we're staying in tune to his heart, the people around us will soon become our focus. When I was in the 4th grade, there was a boy by the name of Robert. And Robert was one of those stereotypical kids who would just be classified as a loner. He was short, he wore thick glasses, he had buck teeth, his ears stuck out, he had thick red hair, just messy red hair. And he was the youngest of like 4 or 5 kids in his family. So he was always wearing hand-me-down clothes. And this kid, Robert, was obsessed with Boy Scouts. And that's all he talked about. So nobody really liked him because he didn't talk like everybody else. He didn't look like everybody else. He didn't dress like everybody else. And all he talked about was Boy Scouts. Well, he sat right next to me. And all he wanted to do was talk to me about Scouts. And I could care less. I had no interest in the Scouts. And so every day he would try and talk to me about Scouts and getting this badge. And he just talked about it all the time. And so I just decided, you know what? I need to be his friend. And so I decided to start listening to Robert share about the Scouts. And you know what? Over time, I kind of took an interest in Scouts. And so I thought, as a side note, maybe I would take my dad to Robert's house, because Robert's dad was the Scout leader, go figure, because he was so obsessed with Scouts. I would go to Robert's house for an informational Scout meeting, my dad and I. And this story has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but it's really, really good. So I'm just going to share it. It's really funny. It's one of my favorite memories growing up. So we walk into Robert's house, and there were like 20 boys and their dads. So, and that Robert had a little small house, and so that living room was packed, standing room only. And, of course, his dad's like trying to talk to all the other dads, and Robert's trying to talk to all the other kids, and he's like in his element because it's a Scout meeting, and he loves Scouts. And so he's just like talking to all these boys who had never really talked to Robert before. And he was super excited. And so it came time for his dad to, to start the meeting. And so he took the floor, and Robert was standing right next to him, and his dad started to welcome all the dads and boys to their house for the meeting. And thank you for coming out. It's such a great turnout, and we're really excited for this year at Scouts. And all of a sudden, I'm standing there, and Robert's standing there. And I told you, Robert was like super excited that everybody was there. And he just threw up all over the living room floor. And no joke, I looked at my dad and I said, "We have to go." And that was the moment where I no longer took an interest in Scouts. No joke. Again, that had nothing to do with the message, but Robert was one of those kids, homely, didn't have any friends, did not look like you and I. But he needed a friend. He needed to know that Jesus loved him. And Jesus lived in my heart. And so the most common sense thing to do was to share that love, right? Kids, we have Roberts in our lives, right? I know you probably can think of one. Jesus calls us to love our neighbors, love the Roberts in our lives, to put others first. And so I tried. I listened to Robert's stories, and you know what? I don't even know if I ever talked to Robert ever again after that day. But nonetheless, I tried. I tried to be a friend. I tried to be a listening ear. Jesus is calling each and every one of us this morning and each and every single day to love those around us and to love hard. But he isn't just calling us to love the marginalized or just to love the Roberts in our lives. Jesus takes it a step further, because that's kind of what Jesus does. He says, okay, we got to do this, but it's not going to stop there. I'm going to push you a little bit further. I'm going to take you a little bit farther. And so Jesus calls for us to love and care for those who don't love and care about us. In fact, he calls us to love our enemies. But how do we do this? So fast forward a couple years, and now I'm like in 7th grade, and I was in middle school, and there was this bully named Mike. And I'm not going to share with you his last name because I don't know where Mike's at and if he's watching or what. But Mike was an angry kid. And he made it his goal in life, or each day at school, to make others suffer. Mike wore all black jeans, black boots, black t-shirt. He had one of those chains that hung down to his knee. He had a shaved head. Let me tell you, dude was tough. And you didn't mess with him. You didn't cross him. You didn't even look at him because you were afraid that he was going to make you one of his subjects for the day. And so I recognized that Mike was a tough dude, and I didn't look at him. I just kind of followed the crowd and just was like, okay, Mike's going to be how he is. I don't want to get punched in the face today. It's happened twice in my life, and it's not fun. And so I just kept to myself for a while. But then curiosity killed my cat, and I thought, what is Mike's deal? Why is he so angry? Why is he the way that he is? Didn't have any friends, kept to himself, ate all by himself, walked down the hallway by himself. In the classes that we were in, I think we had a couple classes throughout my middle school, he always, in the classroom, he'd always pull his desk away from the formation of the rows. He didn't want to be around anybody. And so halfway through the year, I decided to make it my goal to befriend Mike. And I thought I was crazy because I'm like, what am I going to do? People are going to think I'm nuts. How am I going to get through to this Mike? I mean, I don't even know how else to explain it. He was like a rock. I mean, he was so cold and hard, and he wouldn't let anybody in. But I came up with a plan. I decided that in order to become friends with Mike, I was going to have to start out simple by just smiling at him. That's not hard to do, right? Smiling. We smile every day. So I'm walking down the hall, and I'm with my friends, and I haven't shared this with them because I was afraid what they were going to think. But I was trying to, be the love of Jesus and do the right thing and be friends with Mike. And so I saw him coming down the hallway, and I just thought, okay, Here he comes. Here's my chance. I'm just going to smile at him. Nice, friendly smile. Here it goes, Justin. And he looked at me, and I looked at him, and I was like, nervous as can be, with this awkward grin on my face, not really a smile. And he kind of just stared at me back and kept on walking, and I thought, okay, I did it, great. But he was thinking, what are you doing, you freak? Why are you staring at me? So then, I tried that for a few days, and the next step was to actually say hi to Mike. Not just smile, not just be a friendly face or awkward face, however it came across, but I thought I was just going to say hi. Simple hi, nothing else, not start a conversation, just hi. So I'm walking down the hallway, and here comes Mike, and my chance came again, and I was like, hi, Mike. And he didn't say anything, and I kept on walking, and he went his way. I was like, okay, that's good. So then the next day, I did the same thing, and after a few days, he was almost expecting it, and my friends were like, why are you saying hi to him? And my response to them that day was, don't you think he needs a friend? I mean, it's pretty simple. He doesn't have any friends, and why not me? I mean, why not us, And so I said hi to him for probably another week, just in passing. Nothing more, just a simple hi. And so then I decided to take it even further, and it came lunchtime one day, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to sit with him. We're friends now, right? I've smiled at him, and I've said hi to him like a dozen times. It's about time I sat with him. So he's sitting all by himself, and I took my tray away from my friends, and I went and I sat down next to him. Now, guys, you understand this. Girls, you don't understand this. But I didn't sit right next to him because that is weird. So I left a seat in between us. It wasn't a bench. It was like those round discs that you sit on. So I left a disc in between us and didn't say anything other than hi. And so he stopped eating, and he looked at me, and I thought, oh, goodness, what have I done? He said, why are you so nice to me? Why are you saying hi to me? Nobody likes me. Nobody talks to me. I don't have any friends. Why are you sitting with me? And I thought, this question has come up before. So I responded the same way I responded to my friends. I said, just thought maybe you'd like a friend. And he said, well, I don't. And I was like, well, you got me. I didn't know what else to do. I mean, I came up with my battle plan of A, B, and C, and I got through C, and I'm like, clearly he does not want a friend. But I tried. Now, I wish I could say that story ended. I wish that I could tell you that me and Mike became best friends, and he knows Jesus now to this day because of the investment that I made in his life. But I can't tell you that. I really wish I could. But I am proud to say that I was bold in my relationship with Christ. I was bold in my faith in order to step out of my comfort zone and to do all that I could to show Mike love. Now, when I was in 7th grade, I didn't recognize it as love. I was just going to try and be a friend. But there's people in our lives like that. And I wish that I could have gotten to know Mike, and I wish I could have kind of broken that shell that he had around him and gotten to know him, but I didn't. I guess maybe I gave up a little too early, I don't know. But for a 12-year-old, 13-year-old brain, that's all I knew how to do, get through A, B, and C, and then I was like, I don't know what else to do. But I planted a seed, and I don't know if that seed germinated, I don't know if it grew at all, but I did what I knew how to do, and I knew how to be a friend. And so I was a friend that day, or probably for about 6 weeks or so. I tried. So there's those people in our lives that we don't know what to do with. But this morning I want to challenge you to search out the Roberts in your life, or to search out the Mikes in your life, and to see what we can do to share the love of Christ with everybody and anybody around us. Maybe, we talked about this morning, it's about the people that are around us, just in everyday life, at the gas station or the grocery store or what have you. Maybe it's searching out that one cashier at Hy-Vee or wherever you shop, or Super Saver or whatever, searching out that one cashier and starting a relationship, if you just want to take my 3 steps and just start by smiling if it's tough for you to make these relationships. Start out by smiling and then saying hi and, just simple steps. And how you doing today? And I guarantee you, eventually that question is going to come up. Why are you being so nice to me? You don't even know me. I mean, yeah, you come through the cashier line, but I don't know your name. Why are you being so nice to me? And there's an opportunity there to say, you know what? I have Jesus in my heart, and God wants me to share this love that I have from him with other people. And I just thought maybe you would like a friend. Who knows? Maybe you have the Mikes in your life where they're just angry and they don't care about anybody else but themselves, and they just want to get in and get out and go home and be alone and continue hating the world. Maybe you have those enemies in your life. Jesus, in Luke 19, it's going to be on the screen. There's a story about Jesus and a guy by the name of Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus was an enemy to many, many people. He was a super hated man because he was selfish and he stole a lot of money from a lot of people, because Zacchaeus was a chief tax collector. And so I'm going to read this if you want to follow along on the screen. Luke 19. Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through. A man was there by the name of Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was wealthy. He wanted to see who Jesus was, but because he was so short, he could not see over the crowd. You guys remember that song? Zacchaeus was a wee little man, and a wee little man was he. Yeah, he was a wee little man. So Zacchaeus ran ahead of the crowd and climbed up a sycamore fig tree to see Jesus, since he was coming that way. When Jesus reached that spot, he looked up and said to him, "Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today." So he came down at once and welcomed him gladly. All the people saw this and began to mutter, "He is gone to be the guest of a sinner." But Zacchaeus stood up and said to the Lord, "Look, Lord, here and now I give half of my possession to the poor. And if I have cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay back 4 times the amount." Jesus said to him, "Today salvation has come to this house, because this man too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and save the lost." Now, that story is 9-10 verses long. It's super short, super paraphrased, and there's way more details if you really study it. But Zacchaeus would go around being the chief tax collector, and his job was to collect money. So if you had a house and you had 10 horses and 4 pigs and 6 donkeys, whatever you had, he would get out his little abacus, I don't know what he had, and figure out how much tax you owed. But he didn't just take that number and collect it for the local government. He would tack on an extra, I don't know, $100 or what have you, and he would keep it for himself. And so he would do that time after time after time, and people knew it, but they had no way to defend themselves, so they just had to pay him. So Zacchaeus was a very, very hated man. And so when Jesus recognized that Zacchaeus needed a friend, Zacchaeus needed to know about Jesus, people began to get angry. Why is Jesus hanging out with that guy? He's a thief, he's a liar, he doesn't think about anybody but himself. But Zacchaeus needed to know about Jesus. So there's people in your lives, the Roberts, the Mikes. Jesus is a perfect example of what it is to love the Zacchaeuses. He was a hated, hated man. But Jesus is the ultimate example of how we are to live, how we are to love those who don't love us, how we are to love those who don't know how to love themselves, or to be examples to other people of how to love the Roberts in our lives. We need to love these kind of people because Jesus loves these kind of people. We need to love these people because he first loved us. So we just can't hoard that love to ourselves. We need to share it. We need to give it away. People didn't think that Zacchaeus deserved to sit and talk with Jesus. But because Jesus looked past all of the mess in Zacchaeus' life, he was able to see the person who needed to know him. I think we need to take the time, myself included, I think we need to take the time to look at the people around us. Not just the strangers on the street. Yes, it's good to smile and say hi. But look at the people around us on an everyday basis. The people that work in your cubicles or in your offices or wherever you work, in your work environment, that you see every day, day in, day out, that you might know a little bit about, but you haven't shared your faith with them, or you haven't taken it a step further to get to know them. I think it's time we look past the mess in the other people's lives around us in order to get to know them so that they can know Christ. I'm talking to myself this morning, guys. I need to do this for myself too. In order to show the love of Christ, we need to look past the mess. I want to invite the band to come on up, and as they're coming, I want to challenge you this morning with just 3 simple points that point back to what we've talked about. I want to challenge you this morning to put other people first. Kids, are you listening? This isn't just for your parents. Put others first. Show them that they have matter. Show them that they have worth. Because they matter to God and they should matter to you. I challenge you to go the extra mile. Search out the Roberts in your lives, the Mikes in your lives, or the Zacchaeuses in your lives. And love those who don't love you. Care for those that don't care for you, because they care to him. And lastly, I want to challenge you this morning to be Jesus with skin on. Because the truth is, there's going to be times and opportunities in your life where you might be the only Jesus that somebody ever sees. So I challenge you to love hard, and to not miss your moment to be Jesus with skin on. Would you stand this morning?
Sing it out. Great is your faithfulness, O God. You wrestle with the sinner's restless heart. You lead us by still waters into mercy, and nothing can keep us apart. So remember your people, remember your children, remember your promise, oh God. Your grace is enough, your grace is enough, your grace is enough for me. Great is your love and justice, God of Jacob. You use the weak to lead the strong. You lead us in the song of your salvation, and all your people sing along. So remember your people, promise, oh God. Your grace is enough. Your grace is enough. Your grace is enough for me. Your grace is enough. Heaven reaches out to us. Your grace is enough for me. God, I sing, your grace is enough. I'm covered in your love. Your grace is enough for me. For me. Amen. Be blessed as you go today. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next week.